Okay, so we're back in Maya. And we'll be showing you how to navigate in Maya now. We've seen a glimpse of Maya and the things that we can do in Maya. So now we're gonna go and jump deeper and navigate on the viewports, navigate with the camera, navigate with the tools, with the mouse or Wacom, how to use those 3 mouse buttons or the 3 mouse, the 3 buttons on the Wacom as well, and the hotkeys. I mentioned before that Maya, it is designed in a way that is very ergonomic, that you don't have to let go of the pen or the mouse or the keyboard. Everything is there at your fingertips, which is the whole idea, that you keep on going with the workflow. So now let's start with the basic navigation. Let me just repeat a couple of things that I mentioned before so you can catch up on this. If you press the space bar quickly, if you just tap it, you're going to find that you can zoom in or zoom out the viewport that you are doing. That if I do it right here, it goes on that viewport. If I do it again, it goes back to that 4 window layout, which is this one. So that is something that we start with the navigation right there. If you hold down the space bar, you're going to find that the hotbox, it shows you more options right there, as we saw that before previously. We have this compass, so we have north, west, east, and south. And it's the same if you click on that viewport or on this viewport or on this viewport. If you tap the space bar, it doesn't really matter. It's the same set of menus right there. What matters is that once you hold it down and keep it down, you go and click with the mouse or the pen. Let me show you something here. I'm going to let go the pen and the mouse here with the Mac. You have to set it up in a way, because this is only for Macs, because the mouse, it seems that it only has 1 button. On the PCs, you can have a mouse that has 3 buttons, so you can easily identify those ones. But on the Mac, you have to specify in the system. Let me show you. If you go to the preferences, and then you go here, keyboard and mouse, and then you go mouse, and then make sure you have the 3 buttons here activated. You have 3, you have the secondary, and you have the primary button. So that's how you're telling Mac that you're going to use this mouse as a 3-button mouse. You have to do that. So it's the same as any other mouse: right, middle, and left click. And with the pen, it'll be the same thing. So the way that we set it up is that the tip of the pen, that would be the left click. If you hold it like that, left, middle, right, maybe with the camera it's the other way around because of the mirroring thing, but it's important to know it's left, middle, right. And the way we do it, we just hold this as a chopstick. If you just gonna eat some sushi, this is the way we do it. And then the thumb, which is the one that travels the most, like that, you go middle, right. A lot of the camera has to do with the 3 mouse buttons, and basically it's just 1 key on the keyboard, and that would be the Alt key. That's ALT, which means on the keyboards is just an alternative function on the keyboard. So you hold down the Alt key and that's it. You just go and do the left mouse button, and then you can see how you can move the camera around or orbitate the camera around as you're doing it with the mouse. And one thing that is really cool is that if you move it down, the whole plane goes down like this. Before it wasn't like that. So again, this is Maya and the next generation of software doing that, that if you go down, it goes down, because in the old days it was not like that. So you go up, it goes up. You go to the right, and it goes to the right. Let me actually get one model here so you can see it better. So let me just bring a cube right here, make it larger so it can actually help us more with the navigation, and maximize this panel with the spacebar, tapping the spacebar right there, and keep on going with the camera navigation. So Alt key, left mouse button right there. Now if I let go the left mouse button and I go to the middle button, which is this one right there, or the mouse, Now I can actually move or track things to the position that I want. And just notice that I'm not actually moving the object. What I am doing, it is tracking or panning or moving the camera around. With this key, this is the right button, which is the middle button for tracking the camera. And then the last one is the right click on the pen would be the last one, the last key right there. On the mouse is the right button right here. And if you do that one, it actually goes in and out like that. So even if you move it to the sides or up and down, it's not going to go anywhere, but just away from you or closer to you. So again, you can be doing things really fast, and this is something that a lot of people that I know, they just love Maya because of that. That was a huge implementation in navigating with Maya, and this is just the camera. Like all the other stuff is so nice as well. So again, left mouse, middle, and right mouse would be that. There's one more thing that you can actually do with the camera. Instead of going to the right mouse button, you just click the middle button plus the left button, and that way you have 2 in 1 without really letting go or traveling with your thumb from here to there. Yeah, there's no need to do that. You can just do it like that. So either or is just personal preferences that Maya is giving you. And actually it's so popular, all these hotkeys and things that all the other packages now, they have in their hotkeys shortcut, they have one option that it says bring all the Maya hotkeys into your software, and then that's how we do it now. So this is just cameras, and if I tap the spacebar and then I go back to the 4 viewports, I can do the same thing in any viewport right here. I can just travel with the middle mouse button. I can zoom in like that. And on this one, on this camera specifically, I can't really orbit the camera because that's an orthographic view, and that's where it goes as this one. So let me go 5 and 5. So now we can see the hotkey right there going, and then the camera in action. And you can actually see that the cursor changes. You can see that now it's an arrow, and then if I click, it's giving me that 3D arrow that is going close to the camera or away from the camera. If I do it here, it just gives me that icon that I can actually orbit the camera. So that's about cameras. Now let's go into other things for navigation in Maya. Okay, so we are going to talk about hotkeys, the most common hotkeys. There's a million hotkeys in Maya, so it's really hard to memorize them all. So the most common ones would be the ones that you need. So let me just do a couple of things right here. Let me duplicate the object, and that's Control D, and that I get a copy or a clone or a duplicate from that object, and it is very useful to have that. The combinations pretty much would be, sometimes there are simple hotkeys that it only takes one key, like an O or like an I, and then you go immediately to that, and then that's it. The other set of hotkeys would be using 2 keys, and that's Control plus something, Control plus O, Control plus P, anything like that. And then there's this other hotkeys that they would require 3 keys, like Control Shift something or Control Alt something. Now personally, something that requires more than 2 fingers, I think that it's not a shortcut anymore. That's my personal take. That's how I do it. So if I set up a hotkey myself, I try to do it as straight as possible, and with the minimum number of fingers, of course, because sometimes you can't even get the buttons. So now that I have 2 cubes right here, I'll show you the most common ones for cameras. Still, the camera related hotkeys. So if I press the A key, A stands for all. So when you press the A key, it's actually trying to frame everything that is in the scene. So check this out. If I duplicate this guy, this cube, and I bring it all the way outside the frame, and I'm somewhere here, and I press the A key, it's actually bringing everything into that viewport. Now you have to notice now that the viewports are actually independent, meaning that in this viewport right here, I can have that distance from the camera to the objects, and then on this viewport right there, I can be really close or at an independent angle right there, which is, you know, the whole point about this new generation of software, that we can just do whatever we want, and there's less and less things that are tied up. So this is independent viewports. The next key would be the F as Frank. So if I grab something, let's say I select this cube right there and I press the F key right there, it is going to frame what I have highlighted or selected right there. So I can do that again in any viewport. If I go down there, that brings it automatically to frame. And one thing that you also have to notice is that now we have these computers that are really super fast and they support a lot of things. So one of the things that happened in the past few years is that they have what is called the auto point, which means that wherever you are moving the cursor, the computer, in this case the Mac, and with Maya, it's always checking where's the cursor, and if you go here, it finds that the cursor is on that viewport, so it goes there. If I go here, it goes to this one. If I press A on this one, it goes on that viewport. So you have to move the cursor to that viewport first, and then go and activate the hotkey right there. So again, that would be it's out of point, which basically means the computer it's always taking care or always watching, you know, the cursor. Where's this cursor? So I can bring it to that. So it's also really nice because you can actually, it's almost like the eyes. Where the cursor is, your eyes would be there. So that's the whole idea with this. Okay, now going back to the 3 mouse button and more menus. Now that we're going deeper into the menus, if I maximize this viewport by tapping on the spacebar again, and I'm not holding anything on the keyboard, I just right click right there, I can see that there's some menus that are waiting for me. So I can have the complete tool or select all, and if you grab the select all, of course it's going to grab everything. If I press the A key for all the elements that I have in the scene, it's going to frame everything. So now everything has been selected. If I let it go just by clicking somewhere on the gray area, you deselect things. So to select things would be, you open same as Windows, I guess. You just grab any folder. In this case, you're grabbing the cube by doing this and by doing that, and or you right click here and you go select all. If you are thinking about grabbing maybe this one and that one, again, same as Windows, you go and press the shift key and then open that box, and whatever's inside the box is going to get selected. Even if it's just a small corner right here, it gets selected. You can go like that if you want. You open a huge box right here, and or you can just click it once right there. So what's happening here, if you just click it to select the object, what's doing is that Maya, it actually reads the polygon and it sees that it's not a hollow object, and just goes through it right here. So it's a solid object, clicks it and selects the entire object, because that's what we're doing. Okay, so more on hotkeys. If you press the buttons on the keyboard, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's a series of things that are happening. Let me just go back to 4. 4, it's actually the wireframe button right here. and you can see through. You're gonna see the structure of whatever you have inside Maya. In this case, it's just a cube. If I bring a sphere right there, now we can see it like that. And if I press 5, now we're going to go into this mode that is called the shaded mode. You can access that right here on the shading menu on the viewport, and you can see that the hotkeys right there, wireframe or the shaded mode, which is this one right here. So it's 4 and 5. You can just do it very fast by going through the keyboard right here. And again, all this is independent. You can have a viewport like this one would be on 4, which is wireframe, and you can have all the rest of the viewports would be with 5, which is the shaded mode. And if you just go through this shading view right here, you can see like there's a lot of different options. A nice way of doing this is that if you click on the dotted line right here, it lets go the menu, lets it go, and then you can go through each one of them like that and see what they're doing. That's a really nice way of seeing the name of the menu and then seeing what it's doing at the same time. So that's kind of cool. You have the X-ray that you can see through, so it maintains the material, but you can see that it's transparent at the same time. So that is very useful. So we should go like 4 and 5, 4, 5. 6 would be for the textures. Once we get into texture, you're gonna see the texture right there. And then the other keys that are very common is that if you press the 1 key right there, number 1, what happens there is that it's getting different levels of detail in the object. This is number 1. Number 2, it goes and it smooths it out a little bit more, and then 3 is the highest. Now this is useful for if you have a complicated scene. Let's say now at work we're animating all these zombies, and then we have a lot of zombies in the scene, and then those zombies, they're heavy, and then the more things that you have inside Maya, the more polygons, and then the more that the computer has to think. So it's really hard to move or to navigate through, and it's not going to be as smooth as we can see now on the sphere. So we go and press 1, so that just minimizes the number of polygons to display, number 2 and number 3. So that's actually the way we do it, just to move faster through the interface. So that's a pretty common hotkey as well. It's 1, 2, 3 levels of detail, or levels of smoothness, some people call that, or level of polygons at the same time. So yeah, it all means the same thing pretty much. So that's pretty common. Let's see more hotkeys. Right click right here. I showed you this before, but if you go now on top of the cube and then you do the same button, you do the same right mouse button, you can see that now we have a new menu. And this is where we're getting more deeper into things. Now we can go into edges and then just grab the edge of the cube right there. We can select it and then do things to that if we want. If I go back to this, I can go to the face. Now face would be the side in that case of that cube. If I have something different, let me just bring here the let's see again my donut, and then just put it there, F to frame it, and I go right click and then face right here. Each one of these little things would be a face right there. So, and I can frame the face so I can get closer and closer and closer. And again, this is all just ways of manipulating things and selecting things, and then the hotkeys going around this. So again, right click and you have all these options right there. If you want to go back to the object, you go back to this, and then it just exits that mode, and you keep on manipulating the other object. Now, more things for animation. A really common key that we're going to be using. Let me just clear some space right here. I'm going to switch over to the layout for animation, which is this one on the left side of the screen. And perspective this is the schematic view, and this is the Maya animation editor. So a really common key that we are using is, first of all, the Q. Q means quit. So whatever mode you are in, let's say that I was on that translation mode, and you can see that it's on because of my axis. So if I go here and I click on the interface right there, I can see that it brings the axis right there. If I go to the rotation, it's here, and it's just giving me that axis. So if I want to exit that mode, I press Q, or I actually go to the deselect key right there, which is the same thing as Q. So those keys are actually right on the keyboard. So it's almost like using a piano. So you go like that, and we have always that hand is always there. It's very common to have it. So it's Q, W, E, R. So that's for those things. We'll be getting more deeper into that. For now, just get the hotkeys going. And then for animation, I was saying we have this key, which is the S key, which is a set keyframe. We'll get later on into the keyframe. What does that mean and all that, but for now, just enjoy the example. I can press the S key and it sets a keyframe, and I can just go to a different point of the on the time and then set one more keyframe, and then this would actually give me a small animation like that. So this is again the S key that we would be getting a lot of S key throughout our career, setting keyframes, and again, if you can see that everything's on the left hand. And one of the things that I actually relate to that is that when you are with the classical animation, you have the light table and you're drawing, and then you flip the paper. So you're drawing and you flip it, you're drawing and you flip it. It's almost like a guitar. You're always doing things like that. So the whole technology now, the keyboard, and then mapping out the keyboard like that, it's based on that idea that you keep always working without really, like, what am I pressing like this? You just go and then you know what key that is. There's one thing that you have to pay attention to. If you look at the cursor, pretty much if you leave it anywhere in the screen, you're going to see a shape that it means something. It's talking to you. Maya is pretty much saying, if you click there, this is going to happen. If you click here, this is going to happen. So if I'm on the actual viewport, I always get the same arrow key. But if I go down to the timeline, I can see that the arrow key now it has a little box next to that, and it means that you can right click and have a menu. If I do it up here, same thing. So it goes away and it comes back, goes away and it comes back. So that you know that you have a menu going. Up here nothing happens, so if I right click, there's nothing really going on. Right there, right there, right there. Now I get something right here. So it is something you can explore the interface and then just see what's Maya telling you. So let's just do more things on those menus and hotkeys. So channel box right there, right here, all that area. If I left click, I can actually highlight some of those channels, and if I right click, I have menus that are giving me some options here. So I can key maybe that one, I can shift select this one, control and click that one, and then just do things to those parameters based on my selection. And again, this could be independent from one another. As you can see, I am selecting different channels. It doesn't have to be all of them. So that is very powerful. You can keyframe them all, you can mute them all. You know, those things are going to make more sense later in the future. I am just showing you the flexibility of this, so I can just delete that, the changes that I've done. And that takes me to the hotkey that it's always very used, and that's the undo key. One of the things that you need to know about undoing is that you can go to the preferences of Maya by clicking that icon right here, and you go to the undo preference, and here you have some options. to see how many undos you want Maya to be saving, and ideally you want you say, well, save the whole thing. What's happening with that is that as you're working in Maya and you're working through the whole day, Maya, it's trying to keep a memory of all these things, and it just becomes slower and slower and slower and slower. So just keep an eye on that. If you have a big scene, that you can really store this information, just go with a limited number, like 50 would be good. By default it's set to infinite, and that would be the undo key, which if you do something here, like move that here, just go here to the undo, and you see the hotkey right there, the Z or Z right here, and it just goes back, and you can keep on pressing that key and it goes back into the chain. So now it's just going back in that history, and you see, like, just going back to all the things that I've done so far, and it's just bringing them back. It's undoing things that I've done. And one thing that it's nice about Maya is that it is also a new generation of undos. There's different stages of undos, and then Maya, it's actually bringing what it's called the action. So every time you do something, it's undoing that action as well. Let's say if I move this square right here, let me just go like that. If I move that like this and I modify it like that, that would be an action. But if I change frames right here, if I go from frame 10 to frame 9, that's an action. So if I undo that, instead of undoing straight to my geometry, first it's going to undo the frame, so it goes back to that frame, and then I keep on undoing, and now it's going to undo the geometry, meaning that it counted that as an action, which is very useful for artists, because sometimes we're doing a lot of things and that entails things in the interface or on the interface and not just in the geometry. So that's very useful, again, especially when you have complicated scenes. That is a very useful thing. Okay, as you know, these packages are so big that you can lose the menus and you can lose the things easily, especially if you're new to these things, or even an experienced person or artist, computer graphic artist, they can get lost in so many options. So recently they've added this menu here on the help menu that you can actually find menus. So let's say that I'm looking for let's say here the grid right there. So I have no idea where that is. I'm lost. So I just go help and I type it up here. I just go GRID. So it's going to show me that there's a menu with that name. If you press it or if you highlight it, it shows you where the menu would be, which is very useful, especially for animation. If you go set key, if you go like that, well, now you find it, which is here. If you go for the animation editor, it's going to show you where that is. And let me just go here, editor, like that. There you are. So there's the animation editor right there. So you just highlight it and it brings it on right there, so you can find what this is. And now let me just keep on talking a bit about the shelves and things that we have here shown with the icons right here. Really quick, so you can see the power of this. These are shelves. If you see all these tabs, this is the animation shelf, curves, custom, and so on. You can find all these ones. And again, it's really strange that we use them all. These are shelves that I customized myself right there. You have shelves for painting, shelves for polygons, rendering. It's really rare that we use them all, because now the studios and the positions are very specialized. So you just need to know that how they work. It's basically like a bookshelf, that you have a shelf or a book on the shelf right there. These ones would be what we call scripts, and you can add these ones. You can customize them as you are working on something, or you might be doing something that you're repeating the action so much that you say, you know what, I would create a shelf out of that, and then you just do the script and you put it right there, which would be a bit more advanced, but it's easy, it's simple. And you can also play with the icons that we have here in every single viewport. There's nothing really happens right here if you press on all these icons. As you can see, I'm clicking through them and I can see them happening. They're just different things. So go ahead and experiment. You can see now these ones are for the cameras, and I can see the wireframe or the field chart from the classical animation disc right there. I can see that gate for film if needed. I can see again the wireframe shaded on wireframe. You can see that sphere, that it has both. The cube, you can barely see it because it's a cube, but the sphere you can. And yeah, these things, so you can isolate things, and the x-ray and then the bones like that. So just play with them and try to see what they're doing. Each one of those icons is the same on any viewport right here. Right there on any viewport, and then what it opens on the side, there's some menus that they open here, and instead of having a floating window, Maya just tries to fit that on the screen. Some people prefer that window to be on the interface, and some people like to have that floating somewhere on the screen. It's just a personal preference. And so in conclusion, what we have seen on this class, it's a lot about the most common hotkeys. We have the hotkeys for the navigation, the camera that is very powerful with a lot of three button action here on the Wacom or on the mouse. That happens a lot. All this is the gestural manipulation of Maya, so that is always given in Maya. And we've seen the most common hotkeys, which is the F to frame, the A to have all the things in the screen, if I move something like that, the undo key like that is undoing actions as well, and what counts as an action, then you would later know what that means. The Q, W, E, and R, just fast manipulation keys that are always grouped in a sense that you don't have to lift your hand and let go of the keyboard to make them work. Alrighty, so go and play with Maya, navigate through Maya, and then play with those hotkeys and start feeling Maya and feeling comfortable with Maya. Through the installation process, a couple of websites that you guys can go and
take it easy, relax more.